Howdy folks and welcome back. Recently I've been working on a project that requires an automatic deployment of a WordPress blog, installation of SSL certificates, and that all done in a DigitalOcean droplet. This is the UI that I ended up creating to automate this task. So the first step is to purchase a domain. I purchased stick.cc and I'm going to put it right there. I'm going to give the WordPress blog a title and supply the credentials that I'm going to be able to sign into WordPress with. On the next page, we can see the IP address of the WordPress droplet. So we're going to go ahead to our domain, paste that into the A record to make sure that our domain points to the deployed droplet IP address. And after clicking install WordPress and SSL certificate, we're presented with a pretty log of everything working. So now if I head over to https://stick.cc, I can see that the WordPress blog is up and running, and if I head over to the admin panel, I can log in with the admin username and password that I set up earlier. This is actually pretty straightforward to implement. In DigitalOcean, I can create a base droplet which has everything pre-installed and added a couple of shell scripts that can be executed on command, so that whenever I need to create a new WordPress, all I have to do is call a cloud function that automatically spins up a new droplet of that base image. Then all I have to do is automatically retrieve the IP address of that droplet and update my domain name to point to the IP address of that droplet. And all that's left is to SSH into the droplet and execute the shell scripts which will install WordPress and the SSL certificate. I went ahead and created a base droplet, then I SSH'd into it, and I'm creating a couple of files in a.sh, in a 2.sh, and in a 3.sh using Vim. So making sure to add execution permissions to all of them so that they're actually runnable. So the first one installs all of the prerequisites: MySQL, PHP, and WP-CLI. The second one tries actually installing WordPress and the SSL certificate, and the third and final script is just a retry script that I've added to make sure that we have a fallback mechanism in case the SSL certificate generation fails due to, for example, propagation lag. So here you can see that I've added all the execution permissions to all of the scripts, and what we can do is go ahead and run init.sh. However, since I've already done this, I don't need to do it right now, but you can go ahead and write /init.sh to make sure all the prerequisites are installed on the base image. Then we can head over to DigitalOcean, go to snapshots, and take a snapshot of the base image with everything installed. So the next step would be to actually create the cloud functions that spin up the droplets using the base image that were created in the previous step. Now at this point I must make a note that the base image does require a couple of environment variables for the shell scripts to execute correctly. So here we're going to be passing those environment variables and destructuring them using sod. So the next thing that we're going to have to do after this is specify the headers and include our DigitalOcean API key. So once we have that in place, we can go ahead and create the data object, which must contain the image that matches the image of the snapshot that we created in the previous step. And finally, what we can do is actually call the API in order to spin up a droplet with the given parameters that we specified. The cloud function returns the droplet ID, which we can then use to retrieve the droplet IP address. Because it takes a couple of seconds for the droplets to usually spin up, what we can do is create a cloud function that takes the droplet ID as a parameter and continuously polls the droplet's API endpoint until it is healthy. Finally, what we can do is take the droplet's IP address and create a cloud function that SSHs into it. So what we do is we take the IP address of the droplet from the body, create a connection using the SSH2 library, and execute the init2.sh shell script. And this was pretty much it for the backend. So tune in in the next video to see how we developed a front end for it using Next.js.